Good morning, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you again for coming back. Uh, Today is November 16, 2021. So welcome back. So we're going to share some news, some updates on the war in Ethiopia and some other news in reading and on videos. So the update I have on war is that TDF is still uh, fighting for the control of Mile. So some media says controlled, so it's not 100% confirmed. So what I'm telling you is just heavy fighting in that area and in the Afar region. And the Djibouti-Ethiopia line is not cut off yet, according to some media. So there is a mixed news in that area. So I will report to you when it's 100% perfect or some kind of breaking news in that area. So far, it's not clear. Heavy fighting is still going on between TDF forces and all the militias, Ethiopia Defense Forces, and plus Amara Fanos. But on the in northern shore, now OLA, with the help of TDF forces, it is confirmed that Sanbate and Bati and also Hatay in total control of these allied forces, especially the OLA forces celebrated by residents of Sanbate, and they raised the official OLA flag with a great celebration. So that's confirmed. Sanbate is confirmed. Bati and also Hatay. So it's under the control of OLA in coordination with TDF. So that's clear. And also Dr. Alamusime, I think senior Oromo Prosperity Party official. He was around that area, but he fled the region, the city of Sanbate, after it fell in the control of OLA. So he is run away. His whereabouts is not known, probably in Debra Brahan or somewhere, but he ran away with his group. He was there coordinating Abiy Ahmed's operation, causing chaos in that area and sending misleading information to the Wallo Oromos. So that's confirmed. He's run away. His whereabouts is not known. And Sambate is clearly confirmed. It is under the control of Oile. So that's few the updates. Now I'm going to start with Adanech Abebe, mayor of Addis Ababa. Try to expanding the war. She tried to call on African countries to join Ethiopia's war. She's claiming this war is not only the war between Ethiopia and the TDF. She is trying to tell the African countries this is the war for sovereignty, and this is a war between Ethiopia and those who want to change the history. In history, Ethiopia never been colonized. So she's calling on African countries to join. So let's listen is on Ethiopian Broadcasting Corporation in Amharic.
ኢትዮጵያነት ብቻና እንደ ሀገር ብቻ መገለጽ ያለባት አይመስለኝም። ለሀገር ሉዓላዊነት ነፃነት ስትታገል የአፍሪካን ውጊያ ነው እየተዋጋች ያለችው። የኢትዮጵያን ውጊያ ብቻ
Ethiopia is fighting African war.
አፍሪካውያን የራሳቸውን ጉዳይ በራሳቸው የመዳኘት በራሳቸው የመፍታት በራሳቸው የመወሰን ስንት ጊዜ ማዕቀብ ይደረግባቸዋል። ስንት ጊዜ ነው የሚከለከሉት። እንደ ትላንትናው ወደ ኋላ ተመልሰን በታሪክ እንደምናየው ቀኝ ለመግዛት ግዛት ውስጥ ገብተው የሚያስተዳድሩ ሌሎች ሀገሮችና የሌሎችን እጃና ይሆናል። ነገር ግን ሀገር በራሷ ጉዳይ ላይ ካልወሰነች የራሷ ህዝብ ካልወሰነ እንዴት ሉዓላዊነት ነፃነት አለ ሊባል ይችላል? ኢትዮጵያ ለአፍሪካ ትላንትም ምሳሌ ነበረች በአድዋ ምክንያት። ዛሬም እንደገና የአፍሪካን ውጊያ እየተዋጋች ነው ያለችው። አፍሪካን ወንድሞች ሁሉ አብረው ሊቆሙ ይገባል። ዛሬ በኢትዮጵያ ጉዳይ በኢትዮጵያ አጀንዳ አፍሪካ ላይ የሚደረገው ነገር በዚህ ምክንያት አንድ ላይ በመሆን ማስቀረት መቻል ይኖርብናል። እነኚህ ረጃጅም እጆች በልካቸው መሆን መቻል አለባቸው ማለት ነው። ይሄን እንደ አፍሪካኖች ሁሉ ሊቀላቀሉት የሚገባ ውጊያ ነው። ይሄ የኢትዮጵያ ውጊያ ብቻ አይደለም። ኢትዮጵያኖች በአንድነት ቆመዋል። ከዚህ ባለፈ ግን ከአፍሪካኖችም ጋር በአንድነት መቆም ደግሞ ይጣበቅብናል የሚለውን ለማንሳት ነው።
እንግዲህ አሁን ካነሱት ነጥብ አንፃር አዲስ አበባ የአፍሪካ
So that's her message. She tried to make this war is not the war belongs to Ethiopia or Ethiopians. This war, Ethiopia is fighting the African war. She is calling on Africans must join Ethiopia for the war of independence. Ethiopia is symbol of independence, symbol of freedom. So she is I don't know why she want to widen the war. Why she's calling, because maybe there is some weakness on the government side to defend the country. That's why she want to call all 52 African states. So by claiming Ethiopia is fighting Africa's war, by claiming Ethiopia is fighting colonialist, she is indirectly attacking the United States. The United States is intimidating in Ethiopia's internal affairs. The United States is twisting Ethiopia to control Ethiopia. So now calling on Africans to join the war. So that's the interview is long, but I just want to share that part. So the Abiy Ahmed administrations are playing smart now to get the widened support. Okay, let's read some news and come back to the videos. Oromia region imposes curfew amid a state of emergency. The Oromia regional states on Friday imposed curfew effective Saturday, November 13, 2021. The regional attorney general and Peace and Security Bureau in a joint statement announced directives under the recently enacted state of emergency proclamation. The head of Oromia Communication Bureau, Hailu Adunya told local radio that the current security situation necessitated the issuance of the directives. He said it would enable security forces to monitor and control activities in the region's zones, waradas, and kabeles. He also recalled the suspension of ID issuance and the renewals across the region. The curfew restricts movement outside of 9 p.m. and 5:30 a.m. Ambulances and private vehicles are allowed to move with permits after the aforementioned hours, while vehicles, including those owned by the government, are allowed to move only until 8 p.m., according to the statement. Moreover, the employees of hotels, business enterprises, hospitals, and religious institutions are required to get permits for their vehicles. Bars, nightclubs were ordered to close at 9 p.m. as per the directives. Residents were asked to help with the arrests of strange faces in their surroundings, tipping of security forces. The regional command, said to be led by the president of Oromia region, also asked landlords to notify concerned bodies the identity of their tenants. Additionally, the statement cautioned residents to register weapons within 10 days after the announcement was made on Friday. The statement further cautioned that anyone or any house will be subjected to searching as necessary. Credit Addis standard. So the country is already declared state of emergency. I don't know why the Oromia region has to declare its own state of emergency. So this all shows you the country is in terror, including the capital city. Heavy presence of federal police, regional police, the army. Today I saw on different media that these security forces are showing their force to the residents. It's like terrorizing in another way. There is a fear in the capital city, scared of something coming. So now Oromia region is part of that to terrorize the citizens, and the mass arrest of Tigrayans and also Oromos continue despite some expressed concern by the United States, UN, and other international bodies, but still going on. Massive arrest of Tigrayans, especially from children to elderly. So this is shame. I called on before also. This is very shame. It must be stopped, but it's not stopping. These people, they don't feel ashamed. Don't feel ashamed. You see the long line of these people. Uh, you know, I don't know where they're gonna keep them. Everywhere is full. Maybe not in the prison is full. I am sure. So some storage area or concentration camp may be already made for the Tigrans especially. So this is shame. The international community should condemn this thing and help to stop this ethnic-based arrest in Ethiopia. This is from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Ethiopia Facebook. It's appreciation for the demonstrators in a European country. These are pro Abiy Ahmed protesters. Ethiopians, people of Ethiopian origins, and friends of Ethiopia living in Belgium, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, France, Germany, Switzerland, Italy, Spain have held a rally today in Brussels protesting under external pressure against Ethiopia. In the rally held in front of the headquarters of the European Commission in Brussels, demonstrators used the European Union and the United States to refrain from pressuring the government of Ethiopia. The demonstrators displayed posters that denounced the TPLF, supported the leadership of the government of Ethiopia, and called for the international community and the media to respect the sovereignty of Ethiopia. Representatives of the Ethiopian diaspora community and Friends of Ethiopia have also delivered speeches that denounce the destructive acts of TPLF and its terrorist affiliates, including the unjustified punitive measure taken against Ethiopia. The demonstrators finally have handed over a letter detailing their reasons for protest to a representative of the European Commission's Foreign Relations Service. The diaspora advocacy team in Belgium that organized the rally has announced plans to replicate the experience in many countries in Europe. So this is pro-Abiy demonstrators, and some of their slogans read like this: Stop USA, USA equal TPLF, hashtag no more regime change. CNN, BBC, and blame them as fake news, plus other slogans were expressed. So these protesters are pro-Abiy and anti-USA and anti-international media. So this group, the group supporting Abiy Ahmed, this is not easy group. They are supporting the regime, and they are supporting his policy with everything they can. Financing is heavily done. They are raising funds for the government. Demonstration is done frequently, and visiting White House, visiting State Department, denouncing CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera. They are doing everything to save the Abiy Ahmed administration. But this is, they are not an easy group. Some of them even joined the army to fight in Ethiopia. So there is a huge challenge. Abiy Ahmed leadership is not on the right track. They know that, but they still support him. They still stand behind him, and doing everything, doing the advocacy, doing the fundraising, and lobbying, and protesting. So they are doing everything. They know that the country is not on the right track. The Prosperity Party is not the right party for that country. They know, but still they want to defend it. Okay, this is from Obasanjo, former Nigerian president, the mediator. This is a statement he shared. Ethiopia conflict, a sign of failed politics, says Olusegun Obasanjo, African Union Special Envoy to the Horn of Africa. Olusegun Obasanjo says Ethiopia's conflict that has lasted more than a year A week after his first shuttle diplomacy between the warring parties, Obasanjo, who is a high representative of the African Union Commission chairperson, says he is still working on seeing parties begin dialogue and save the country from further losses. I am optimistic that common ground towards a peaceful resolution of the conflict can be secured, he said in a statement on Sunday on the prospects for peace in Ethiopia. Everyone he talked to, he says, wants peace, but the warring parties have not agreed on how, which may be the reason further violence has continued in spite of calls to ceasefire. War represents a failure of politics. Thus, dialogue remains the only reliable and sustainable avenue to peace. There is no military solution to the conflict, and battlefield victory cannot guarantee political stability in Ethiopia. So it's a part of Obasanjo's comment or statement on the media. I got it from the Kenya Daily Nation. So if you need more about Obasanjo's statement, you can see on Kenya Daily Nation. International Education Week and Open Doors Report. This is from State Department. I didn't know there is International Education Week. From November 15 to 19, the U.S. Department of State and the U.S. Department of Education are celebrating International Education Week, IEW. This year is the 22nd annual celebration of International Education Week, a joint initiative by both agencies to highlight the benefits of international education and exchange. International education, both welcoming international students to the United States and encouraging more Americans to experience the world through study abroad, remains a cornerstone of the department's academic exchange and public diplomacy efforts. During International Education Week, schools and universities across the United States and around the world will focus on the importance of international education in fostering security and economic growth and highlight the importance of ensuring that more students and scholars have access to international educational experience. The Department of State and Education are strongly committed to international education as evidenced in the recent release of the Joint Statement of Principles in support of the international education. The United States remained open to international students throughout the COVID-19 pandemic and was once again the top destination for international study in academic year 2020 to 2021, welcoming 914,095 international students to U.S. colleges and universities. More than 710,000 international students enrolled at the undergraduate, graduate, and non-degree levels from more than 200 places of origin. In addition, more than 200,000 international students pursued optional practical training experiences. International education promotes mutual understanding among people from different nations and help ensure the Americans from all walks of life better understand the world and are prepared to effectively engage with their neighbors. The Department of State's goal network of more than 430 Education USA International Student Advising Centers operates in 175 countries and territories to promote U.S. higher education to students around the world by offering accurate, comprehensive, and current information about opportunities to study at accredited post-secondary institutions in the United States. The Department of State is committed to supporting and diversifying American students' mobility, include through participation in U.S.-sponsored exchange programs such as the Fulbright program, the Critical Language Scholarship program, and the Benjamin A. Gilman International Scholarship program. For more information can be found at internationaleducationweek.state.gov or iew.state.gov. Credit U.S. State Department. So that's new for me, Education Week. Pentagon says it continues to see unusual Russian military activity near Ukraine border. The U.S. Department of Defense said on Monday that it continued to see unusual military activity and a concentration of Russian forces near its border with Ukraine. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby said the build-up was concerning and U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin would meet his Ukrainian counterpart on Thursday. Kirby declined to speculate about the purpose of the Russian military movements and didn't offer further details. Credit Reuters. Okay, this is something related with COVID-19 in Austria. Austria declared lockdown for COVID unvaccinated. Austria has ordered a nationwide lockdown for its citizens who are not fully vaccinated against COVID-19, a first in the EU, although other member nations could soon follow. Chancellor Alexander Schellenberg said the lockdown would come into force from Monday and that it was necessary to stem the country's record surge in cases. The measure will affect about 35% of Austrians, or just over 3 million people. It means those aged over 12 who are not vaccinated or cannot show that they have recently recovered from COVID-19 will not be allowed to leave their houses except for reasons such as buying essential supplies, exercise, or seeking medical care. The situation is serious, Mr. Schellenberg said. We don't take this step with a light heart, but unfortunately it is necessary. The lockdowns are to be enforced with random spot checks for the next 10 days and increased police patrols. It will then be reviewed, the government said. Those who break the rules could be fined €500 or $572, while those who refuse to show proof that they are vaccinated or have recently recovered can be fined 3 times as much. The main committee of parliament approved the lockdown late on Sunday. Mr. Schleinberg again called for those who have not yet been vaccinated to get their shots. Hundreds who have not gathered outside the chancellor for his announcement in a noisy protest, waving banners that read "No to mandatory vaccination" and "Our body, our freedom to decide." That's their banner. The government on Friday announced that vaccinations would become mandatory for healthcare workers. Under current rules, unvaccinated people are banned from restaurants, hotels, and cultural venues unless they can show they have recently recovered from the disease. Vienna is further toughening rules requiring PCR tests as well as being vaccinated or recovered to attend events of more than 25 people or to go bars and restaurants in the evening. Also from Monday, the capital is becoming the first region in the EU to offer shots for children aged between 5 and 11 at a vaccination center. Appointments were booked for more than 5,000 children where registration opened on Saturday, the city said. The European Medicines Agency has not yet issued an authorization for any of the vaccines to be used for this age group, although member states can do so in a public health emergency. About 11,700 people infected with the coronavirus have died in Austria. Daily cases hit a record high of more than 13,000 new infections on Saturday. Other European governments are considering similar measures after the region became the global center of the pandemic once more. In Netherlands, Dutch Premier Mark Rutte announced on Friday at least 3 weeks of lockdown measures for restaurants, shops, and sporting events to curb a record surge in coronavirus infection. This is very, very bad. I hope it loosens, but no, this virus is still around in the world. So credit for that one is the national. Okay, this is from State Department. Russia conducts destructive anti-satellite missile test. On November 15, 2021, the Russian Federation recklessly conducted a destructive test of a direct ascent anti-satellite missile against one of its own satellites. This test has so far generated over 1,500 pieces of the trackable orbital debris and will likely generate hundreds of thousands of pieces of smaller orbital debris. The long-lived debris created by this dangerous and irresponsible test will now threaten satellites and other space objects that are vital to all nations' security, economic, and scientific interests for decades to come. In addition, it will significantly increase the risk to astronauts and cosmonauts on the International Space Station and other human spaceflight activities, the safety and the security of all actors seeking to explore and use outer space for peaceful purpose has been carelessly endangered by this test. The events of November 15, 2021 clearly demonstrate that Russia, despite its claim of opposing the weaponization of outer space is willing to jeopardize the long-term sustainability of outer space and imperil the exploration and the use of outer space by all nations through its reckless and irresponsible behavior. The United States will work with our allies and partners as we speak to respond to this irresponsible act. We call upon all responsible spacefaring nations to join us in efforts to develop norms of responsible behavior and to refrain from conducting dangerous and irresponsible destructive tests like those carried out by Russia. So that's very strong statement from U.S. State Department on Russia conducting, destructive satellite test. So that's all I have for reading today. Let's share just a couple of videos and end today's presentation. Thank you again for joining me. Okay, let's see. So, okay, so I will start with the U.S. State Department daily briefing on very short one, then I have another one. This is, there we go. There we go.
Late last week, the Ethiopian government told the UN that it would allow trucks to drive for the first time in more than 6 weeks. Obviously, we've seen the Ethiopians allow Obasanjo to come in and out, Kenyatta and Feltman, and yet not a single truck has moved in since the promise that was given late Thursday night. Do you believe an apparent shift in the Ethiopian government's tone is legitimate or a ploy to buy time?
Well, we have consistently said that we welcome words, but what we'll be looking for is action, and that includes in the context of humanitarian access and humanitarian deliveries into Tigray, into northern Ethiopia. We would welcome any action from the government of Ethiopia that would allow life-saving humanitarian assistance to reach all of those in need in Tigray and across Ethiopia, regardless of ethnicity. We have not seen, as you alluded to, any action that would indicate that these trucks can safely transport life-saving humanitarian supplies. Moving trucks with relief supplies is just one of many steps that are necessary to help the millions of people across the region who are in need. We know, we've heard from humanitarian aid organizations that they need to be able to move fuel, to move cash, to move food, to move other supplies in order to operate programs that distribute these life-saving and essential supplies once they go into Tigray and Amhara. We have repeatedly and increasingly urgently called for all parties to allow and facilitate unhindered humanitarian access, and we are alarmed, as we have said over the course of the last week or so, at the detention of UN and NGO staff and drivers, which is yet another obstruction of humanitarian aid. Humanitarian access must be allowed so that these aid workers can work free from harassment, free from intimidation, and of course, free from detention as well. Let me make one other point, because it is just incredibly important in the context of Ethiopia. This is a challenge that we are engaging on. It's a challenge that will be high on the agenda when Secretary Blinken meets with President Kenyatta and is in the region, is in Kenya and the continent this week. But the security situation in Ethiopia continues to be tenuous. Earlier this month, our embassy went on order departure. Our embassy is still open. but we did go on order departure. And since earlier this month, we have gone from recommending to urging Americans to avail themselves of the commercial flight options that continue to be available out of Addis to leave the country immediately. We are doing that not because we are pessimistic about the prospects for peace, but because we are practical. And these options are still available today. There are days this week where nearly 24 commercial flights will be available. We understand from the embassy that there is excess capacity on these flights. The embassy's American section of American Citizen Services has actually extended its hours. It's open 7 days a week. We are providing repatriation loans. In other words, we are actually upfronting the costs of return tickets or tickets, airfare out of the country, so that Americans can avail themselves of this option. I think there may be a misperception that what we saw in Afghanistan is something that the U.S. government can undertake anywhere and everywhere in the world. What we saw in Afghanistan was unique. It was extraordinary. It was something that this administration had not done before. It is something that no administration had done before. In the military-led airlift of nearly 125,000 individuals. The context of Afghanistan was unique. The context of Afghanistan is not something that the U.S. government can replicate elsewhere. And so that is why we are being explicit in urging Americans to avail themselves of these plentiful commercial options. The security situation in and around Addis continues to be stable, and there is no reason that Americans should wait until the last minute or that anyone should expect that we may be in a position to undertake something similar to what we saw in Afghanistan. The conditions, the context is just quite different.
You're raising that Afghanistan in that context only underline the point that the Secretary made on Friday, which is that you were worried about the state imploding?
No, it's a very practical measure, and we are trying to be explicit to the American citizen community there that there are these options available. The security situation is tenuous, of course. We are supporting the efforts of President Obasanjo and our partners to put the security situation back on a steadier and ultimately a better track. But we can't be the guarantor, and certainly not in a position to ensure Americans that these options will continue to be available. So, of course, while they are available, while there is plenty of excess capacity, we are being very explicit. Again, not because we're pessimistic, but because we're practical, and because we put the safety and security of Americans around the globe as our first and top priority.
Where was the suggestion coming that there could be an Afghanistan type?
Well, we just...
Unless I'm mistaken, it wasn't in his question. You just brought it up.
No, you are correct. We don't want there to be a misperception.
Well, there wasn't one.
Well, Matt,
I missed it. I pay pretty close attention to these kind of things, and I don't recall anyone.
Matt, you're sitting in the front row of at the Department of State.
Yes.
There may be Americans around the world who may be under
Ethiopia is like Afghanistan. That the U.S. was at war for 20 years.
Who may be under
and is withdrawing hastily.
Our point, Matt, is that
nobody has said this except for you,
Matt.
I don't get it.
I know you have a perspective sitting there from the front row, but we talk to American citizens all day, every day.
And you think that, so you're saying that there are American citizens who are in Ethiopia right now who think that somehow there's going to be a U.S. military evacuation of Americans from Ethiopia.
I am saying we do not want there to be a misimpression that anything like what was undertaken in Afghanistan, which was unique in history, could be repeated anywhere.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, that's the U.S. State Department briefing on the situation in Ethiopia. You hear the argument. Let's see the last video.
Meet Sky, the platform designed to take your brand full circle.
Okay, these are the advertisements. That's the challenge we have.
Solutions, that connect the dots between products and people.
There you go.
India's capital is on red alert. Pollution in New Delhi has reached alarming levels, raising more health concerns for the population of 20 million. The government is taking drastic measures in an attempt to curb the impact it's having on people. This week, schools will revert to online classes, construction work has been banned, and government offices will go remote. The city is also considering a 2-day lockdown.
Weather forecast says winds will not blow from November 14 to 17, and the smoke from burning stubble will keep coming to Delhi, so the situation could get worse then.
New Delhi is one of the most polluted cities in the world. The air is toxic most of the year and causes more premature deaths than in any other big city in the world. The air quality has become especially bad this season as temperatures dip. The number of farm fires has risen in neighboring states in the past few weeks. New Delhi's government has blamed those states for not doing enough to solve what is an annual problem, but has come under fire from the Supreme Court for its own ineffective policies. Emissions from vehicles, industries, and garbage burning remain high, and the government's ban on firecrackers around the Hindu festival of Diwali was not fully enforced.
Delhi has always had a pollution problem. Every year we see bans on firecrackers during Diwali, but people defy these. The air quality index in most of the city is around 500.
It's a big problem. We have to wear a mask all the time so we don't fall sick. We drive all day outside in this dust. Our auto rickshaws don't have doors. The government needs to think about us.
Experts say the government needs to focus on reducing and monitoring emissions from major pollutants, including industries, cars, and construction sites through the year.
We need to develop a ward, village, district, sub-district, state level emission inventory for the different sectors, like how much transportation is contributing, how much construction is contributing from that region. Then after that, we need to assign the responsibility to the people who are working on the ground for those sectors.
The government in New Delhi constructed this smog tower earlier this year after orders from the Supreme Court, but experts say measures like these are largely reactionary and ineffective given the scale of the crisis. While short-term emergency policies like lockdowns may ease the problem right now, systemic solutions will require regional cooperation and political will. Pavni Mittal, Al Jazeera, New Delhi.
Okay, thank you, Al Jazeera, for that reporting about the air pollution challenge India is facing. So that's conclude today's news, and the most interesting thing for today is the Adanech Abebe Addis Ababa mayor smart move to invite Africans to join Ethiopia's war. That's very interesting, and we'll follow it if African countries hear the call and they join her, like Eritrea. So there may be some kind of invitation, official invitation from Ethiopian government for Africans to join their forces against TDF and against the effort US is taking for that country's ceasefire, stability, dialogue, and reconciliation. So that's very interesting call on part of Addis Ababa's mayor. Could be coming from Abiy Ahmed. So she may be a mouthpiece for his idea to invite African countries to gain the help from African countries, not to erase Ethiopia's history, symbol of independence. Who told? No, they are blaming the United States for all this mess, but the United States is calling for ceasefire. calling for dialogue, calling for all stakeholders to take part for that country's future. But Abiy Ahmed, prosperity officials are somewhere, digging somewhere where the United States never talked about. So that's all I have for today. I will be back with other updates. And thank you again for joining me. Please share, subscribe to my channel, and comment and like my videos. So long, everyone.